Welcome back to Preservation Travels with Landon and Kevin. Again, we're here in beautiful Natchez, Mississippi today on Linton Avenue, right next door to our little lady, Pearl, that we're working on. And I'm standing on the porch of a beautiful 1907 Victorian. Yes, 1907 Victorian. The Victorian architectural period in the United States extends to 1910 at the earliest. Some scholars agree all the way up to 1920. So in the United States, the Victorian architectural period does extend past the death of Queen Victoria by several years. But a beautiful Victorian home built high on a bluff overlooking the Mississippi River. This home is rich in architecture and rich in history, and we're excited to share both with you today. We're standing on the front veranda, which is draped with these beautiful ionic fluted columns, the volutes of which are still in absolutely remarkable condition after over 100 years. But one of my favorite elements on this house is the double entry. We don't see this often here in the South because this is an element often reserved for homes up north where inclement weather would require a double entry. But this beautiful home has these gorgeous double oak front doors hiding a treasure right behind them. Come inside. Welcome in to this glorious entryway with this absolutely stunning work of art leaded glass front door with its matching transom. You'll see here gorgeous raised panel wainscoting and a little peek of the beautiful detail you'll get when we get inside. Welcome into the Mayor's Mansion. Now, why is it called the Mayor's Mansion? In 1964, Mayor Nasser and his wife lived in this beautiful home here in Natchez, Mississippi. And those of you who lived through the era remember that the 1960s were the height of the civil rights era. And here in Natchez, Mississippi was no stranger to the tensions that were occurring during that time. On the night of September the 26th, the mayor and his wife were sitting in the back parlor watching television when a bomb exploded on their front porch, causing significant damage to this structure. Simultaneously, across town at the home of a black gentleman who was a contractor here in town, another bomb went off. It was immediately blamed on the black community, but the mayor, being known as a peacekeeper between the races, refused to point fingers and searched until he found the actual culprit, saying it was just as likely that the white community was to blame for the bombings as it was that it was the black community. And throughout his tenure as mayor, Mayor Nasser worked very, very hard to be a peacekeeper during the civil rights movement and amongst the races here in Natchez, Mississippi. So this home holds not only incredible architectural history and importance, but also actual cultural historical importance here in the city. Well, here we are in the entryway of this beautiful home, once again where guests would have been greeted as they came in to the front parlor to visit the original builders of this home. It's important to note that this avenue, this entire street here, Linton Avenue, was originally developed by wealthy Jewish merchants who came to the area after the Civil War and were part of the reason that Natchez was able to thrive during the Reconstruction era. At one point, Natchez had an enormous Jewish community, and there's a beautiful synagogue downtown that represents their faith. Sadly, there are only 3 families that continue to worship at the synagogue, and they have already left the temple to the Natchez Historic Foundation, once all three of those families have passed away. But let's take a look at the architecture of this beautiful room. Notice, if you will, the coved plastered ceilings, such a beautiful and difficult architectural element to achieve to high perfection. And it's done beautifully in this room. Look around us at all the glorious, glorious woodwork with repeating elements. We see them over and over and over. Here in the entryway, we have these gorgeous Ionic columns with the scrolled volutes, egg and dart detailing. Then our entablature and architrave are highly, highly decorated with more egg and dart detailing, and we see that repeated throughout the bottom floor. How could we not notice this glorious stained glass window as we rise to the first landing that has the bow detail and the flame of knowledge in it? Our newel post is heavily carved, beautiful oak with egg and dart detail and foliate design. But harkening back just a little bit earlier to architectural trends, we have a beautiful fretwork mashrabia that separates the front parlor from this beautiful bay nook in the entryway. Let's go into the formal living area, the formal parlor, and see what treasures we find in there. Here we are in the front parlor, and behind me you see the most glorious set of pocket doors that are 10 feet tall. Amazing pocket doors. And you see repeated in the entablature and architrave that same egg and dart and Ionic column detail. It's throughout the room. It's also at the top of every one of the windows. They're hidden right now by the beautiful draperies that have been installed, but it's in every frame around this room. I want to show you something that's very important, and one of the reasons we are so dedicated to keeping historic windows. When these homes were built, every window in a historic home was built specifically for its window frame. They were all custom made for the frame in which they would fit. And very, very often you'll find these little tags on your window sill or on your window seat. Those little tags indicate which sash was made to go into which frame. You won't see that level of craftsmanship in new construction today, and you certainly won't get that level of craftsmanship if you try to replace your historic windows with new windows. Their proportion will never be correct. But I love to find these little markers that are a little hint into the incredible handwork that was put into each of these beautiful historic properties. Now let's take a look at the family parlor. Come with me. This is the family's parlor, and as we talk about so often, usually private spaces like this were kept very simple in their design. The trims were pared down, the woods were pared down, but we don't find this in this home. We find elaborate moldings, beautiful trim work in here, just like we did in the main entertaining spaces of this house. And that's probably because this is a double parlor. It was meant to be an overall entertaining space. So when the owners had parties or gatherings, they could throw open these pocket doors, and these two parlors could serve as one main space to entertain large numbers of guests, mingling from the entryway into the front parlor and then here into the back parlor. This room has one of my favorite elements because we see it so very rarely here in the South, and that's the stamped brick mantelpiece. I've seen one other mantelpiece that had some of this element of design. Here you see an egg and dart detail along with Greek key. The only other one I've ever seen in person was actually painted over. So it's beautiful to get to see one of these glorious stamped brick mantelpieces still in its original form. Right off of this space is a first floor bedroom, which I believe to be original. So come through with me and let me point out some minor details that are obvious to me, but you might miss if you came through. Here we are in our first truly private space in this home. So what's different in here than what we have in the formal rooms of the house. Well, first you can see that instead of our gorgeous entablatures and architraves, highly decorative, featuring fluted ionic columns all around in the living areas, here we have our simple bullseye molding. Now, to me, this is beautiful, elaborate, and something we'd never get today. This is a full 3/4 of an inch thick, stunning with still high baseboards. But for the time, this was very, very, very simple molding. Something else in here, another radical change from the main rooms to this room. Our front rooms have hardwood oak floors. Our entryway, our formal parlor, and then our back parlor. Very expensive wood flooring for the time. But in here, we transition to pine. We love pine floors. They're gorgeous, and they're all throughout our Pearl. They're all throughout Melly, and they're very, very common here in the South. But common would have been cheap during that day, so the oak hardwood flooring was another sign of the great wealth of this family. Take a look at that main bathroom right off of this bedroom, and then we'll go into the dining room. Here we are in another glorious Victorian era dining room. There are just no spaces in houses today like we had during this period of architecture. They're absolutely stunning. First of all, I want to draw your attention to the beautiful plaster coved ceiling again. This room has been treated to mimic the look of gold leaf, and it's been beautifully done. Here we have a gorgeous tiger oak columned mantel with its original tile work all around and its original mirror. This is a stunning 10-foot pocket door that is one door that runs the entire length of this 7-foot opening. Absolutely magnificent, no matter which direction you look. And again, notice we have matching fluted entablatures and architraves in here. And I love a swinging kitchen door. Here we are on the second floor landing, and I want to point out some of the architectural differences that you'll see up here from downstairs. Downstairs, all of the woods that are used in the trim, in the floors, in those main rooms are all hardwood. They're all oak and beautifully detailed. But once we rise up to the second floor, which was always intended to be a private space, our floors are all pine, and I guarantee you all of these moldings are also pine and have been painted from the beginning of time. The family would have considered it more appropriate to paint the pine and cover the fact that it was an inexpensive wood than they would have to stain it and leave it exposed. Up here at the front of the home, we have a beautiful study that overlooks Linton Avenue Linton Avenue looks very much like a scene from a movie. It's almost impossible to describe how picturesque this place is. Just over the rise runs the Mississippi River off of a high bluff. Our first bedroom, calming and peaceful, a beautiful place to spend a night. There are 2 additional bedrooms, each of them with queen-size beds, and these 2 feature their original fireplaces with their stunning Victorian-era original tile. When this house was built, the second floor balcony would have been another living space, accessed by the walk-through windows in all of the bedrooms. This space would have been utilized to catch the cool evening breezes flowing off the Mississippi River. We thank you for joining us for this tour today, and we hope you've enjoyed taking a peek inside this beautiful property. But I've saved the very best part for last. This property is an Airbnb, and you can come and spend a night, a weekend, a week, or like us, an entire month here enjoying the splendor and the history of the Mayor's Mansion. Be sure you search Mayor's Mansion, not Mayor's House, that's a different property entirely, and come to Natchez and enjoy some time soaking up the culture and the history of this beautiful town. Thank you for joining us on Preservation Travels with Lane and Kevin. We'll see you next time.